The following Conscious Consumer Network recording of a live broadcast is available to purchase in high definition at ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a CCN pledger. For €10 a month, you can have unlimited access to CCN high definition downloads at ethymarket.com. Ethymarket, the ethical marketplace for conscious consumers.
Hello and welcome to the One People Show.
There you go.
Hello and welcome everybody to the week that was on the One People Roundtable. Hello and welcome everybody in the chat room. Looks like it's filling up quite nicely. Hi Dee.
Hi sweetheart, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm actually, just to let you know, I'm not jaundice. Something just happened to the light around here and everything went yellow. I don't know. But I'm not sick.
It's okay, and I'm not technically blue, but apparently everything in my house is blue, but that's because we have those horrible light bulbs, so.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
It's all I can find lately, so.
So
it's that or candlelight, so, you know, we've done shows by candlelight before. It doesn't work so well.
So Dee and I haven't spoken for days and days and days. So we were just trying to have a very quick catch up before the show. And we've had everything. I know you wrote an article about it on your website, but we haven't talked about this at all. Yet another city turning up in the clouds over China. That's the second one in China. Plus there was that one in Africa. And they mentioned Project Bluebeam right there in mainstream media.
I know.
Nice work.
I just was like, I can't, I mean, granted, it's out of London, it's the Express, it's kind of like the rag newspaper of London, right? Paparazzi and all the rest of it. But yeah, I sat there and there was like, they clarify, you know, like conspiracy theorists, but they actually talked about Project Bluebeam by name and the idea of a staged alien invasion or a staged second coming of Christ. And when they actually said like the staged second coming of Christ, I jaw hit the floor. I was like, did they actually write that? Holy shit.
I just thought it was interesting that they three things get mentioned. One is that the weather experts, which is an oxymoron, said it's a mirage and gave all these. This is kind of why it's a mirage.
Oh yeah.
But then the two alternative things are, it's a parallel universe, or it's Project Bluebeam. There wasn't anything really that I thought a mainstream reader could grab, because the weather experts' explanation was just, you know, stupid, and then the other two were conspiracy theories. So to me, it was like they didn't really leave the average viewer or reader with anything tangible.
No, there was nothing. That was the giggle of it. It's like, seriously, like you couldn't even come up with a better explanation. And whenever you get the weather experts on, it's always, I immediately have flashbacks to like Men in Black. It was swamp gas reflecting the light of Venus. Seriously.
So what do you think it is?
I don't know. I've had like multiple people send me the links, ask me like, what do you think? And we talked about it in the Unfuckers room a little bit. And because I haven't been in there all day today because I've been really busy. I don't know. like I said, my two theories are, and I talked to Biggie and I talked about it last night after Conspicuous News was over. My theory is A, it is Project Bluebeam gearing up, that they're playing around with, you know, holograms on those lovely skies full of smog and chemtrails. Or, which I'm kind of more leaning to now, is it is an opening in the dimensions. And when
I'm
and
leaning
the
to
fact
opening in dimensions for one reason,
okay,
and that is I was with somebody when I saw the clip, and the person said, "I've seen that," and that was here in Australia at one evening at a particular moment, and they said that is almost exactly what I saw. So that's why I'm leaning that way, because this person doesn't make this shit up. So unless, and that wasn't one of those situations where it was seen by a mass of people.
no,
And a different part of the world and blah, blah, blah. So unless they've got a Project Bluebeam sort of template, you know, slide A.
well, I mean, and that could very well be what it is. But what I found interesting was
Bluebeam thing though.
is that, well, yeah, I mean, do they trying it? Are they pushing it? Is that what their agenda was? I mean, let's face it, the Project Bluebeam stuff has been out for a decade, at least a decade. It's been in the alternative media, etc. But what grabbed me was the fact of in the Express, the London Express, 2 days before that article was the article about CERN.
Oh.
And I literally looked at that and was like, oh, because timing is everything. These things are never put out without a reason. There's always something there. And the article put out by the Express that CERN this week could, should, might open a doorway into a parallel universe. It was almost, almost verbatim the article that was put out in May. Same picture, same people quoted, same bit about the gravity from Mars, you know, leaking into the other one and the miniature black holes, blah, blah. It was almost like they took the one from May, mixed up the paragraphs, kind of just put them in different placements and just ran with it again. And immediately I go, okay, why? What are they, what's going on that they're putting that piece out? Followed 2 days later by the floating cities and over China, which I couldn't even believe that they actually put that in the mainstream. But why?
Well, here we go. Excuse me. In the chat room, Tracy saying that her grandfather told her more than 10 years ago about seeing a city in the sky when he was a child. Now, if that's the case, Bluebeam wouldn't have been responsible back then, and neither was CERN.
Mm-hmm.
So,
do you want to know what came to my mind the first time I saw that clip?
What?
With the city of China? Was your dream you had a few weeks ago. It was the very first thing that came to my mind when I saw the whole thing about the layers of the earth, and you saw this layer, and then you saw this layer, and you saw this layer. And that was the very first thing that came to my mind when I saw the video of the floating city over China. I was like, oh, is that literally like that kind of a crossing over somewhere? Now, it's interesting because CERN has been doing some really strange and I haven't been watching this week like I usually do because I've been just really, really busy on other things. But CERN has been doing some really strange shit this week. And when I started writing the article yesterday morning about the Express and the mainstream media coverage and the opening a portal to another dimension, I went in and looked, and I caught a couple of screenshots, and there was a couple of shit that I was like, oh, Well, that's interesting. No, that was this morning. Time flies. I thought, no, that was this morning I did that. Just little strange baubles. And I went and I cross-referenced it with the magnetopause for the Earth at the exact same time. And I got screenshots of the magnetopause of the Earth going during those moments when there were bizarre little fluctuations in CERN. And just as we were introing into the show, I went in to go look at CERN at the live feed. They just dumped the beam about 12 minutes ago. Yeah, about 25 minutes ago, I guess. And again, there's this weird little bauble going on that I've never seen before. Like, I don't know. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to slightly, well, I don't know if it's slightly changing subjects or if it's connected at all or not, but okay, I had a moment yesterday. Tears, the works. I was so overwhelmed in a way. The desire was so strong for all this shit to be done, to know the truth, to know, not just get the next little piece, not just understand the next layer of the fucking onion, but all of it, that I ended up in tears. And there's been little pieces of information, internal, triggered by external, but that are giving me a picture that's just getting clearer and clearer. And it honestly feels like between the Truman Show and Insurgent, we almost have all the answers. And this is kind of side note, but connected to, I was just telling you just before we went live, in the political arena, when it comes to climate change, anybody who does not agree with the consensus of 97% of the scientific community, that figure just keeps getting thrown out there, that climate change, well, because they have to keep changing what they call it, but so they've just come up with the umbrella term of climate change, because then when it's heating up, they can say it's climate change, and when it's cooling down, they can say it's climate change.
Mm-hmm.
That if you don't agree that humans are directly responsible, that our production of CO2 is directly responsible, then you're a member of the Flat Earth Society. There's been this concerted effort, starting with Obama, that I've noticed, back when he said, I'll talk to anybody about climate change. I'm open for discussion with everybody, but I'm not going to sit down with the Flat Earth Society. Starting with that.
I have never heard that. So I really, someone send me a link to that, because I have to hear that.
Yeah, he did. And since then, TV hosts, commentators, the scientists who are in the 97% keep throwing it out there, that if you're not prepared to admit this, accept this, then you're a member of the Flat Earth Society. So why they're trying to connect the two, I find, oh, now I just went blue, and now I've gone, oh. Something's really happening. That in itself, I think, is an interesting little tidbit, and I'm not sure why they're trying to do that, but unless they think that the whole Flat Earth conversation is so ridiculous that, you know, just by associating, they're just trying to make that association. But it feels like there's more to it than that. But it's also, I think, a way of addressing the fact that the Flat Earth conversation has become so prominent. It is reaching mainstream even. It's not one of those things that's just buried in the alternative media anymore. It's now back to the sort of personal thing. I've come to the conclusion, and until proven otherwise, this is where I'm at, that this really is nothing more than a hologram. And the way you and I have been talking about cycles of time, that it's just one big friggin' holodeck with simulation after simulation after simulation being played out, which is the cycles of time that we've been talking about. That I don't even know how to put this into words yet. But the programming of the simulation is breaking down. It's already way past its use by date. And this is where I know I'm going to get into some trouble with some people. But if I'm going to be completely open-minded, I've got to consider this. And that is that there's an aspect of the planet that is in on this. And you know, we talked about how the only way that the flat and the globe can kind of go together is if the planet is just so friggin' big.
Yeah.
That the flat Earth map actually sits anywhere on there and it's flat. I'm kind of leaning towards that at this point because it feels like this is just an isolated little pimple on a much larger body. That what we refer to as extraterrestrials are literally just out there. And that for those of us who do not feel like this is home, and I know there are many, many out there, my first memories are of 2 years of age feeling like I got off on the wrong stop. I know other people, I've had close friends who I've known for many years who don't have an explanation for it, but their first memories of being little were totally pissed off. They were so angry.
How the fuck did I end up here?
People feel like they got tricked, or that they were made to come here, or forced to come here, or tricked into coming here, or something like this isn't home. And yet, and this is another thing that keeps tying in, which you and I have talked about as well. Environmental discussion, the whole environmental discussion, everybody's in on it from the Pope down. And almost trying to turn this into a religion in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
And this whole, even for the Pope to refer to the planet as Mother Earth, our mother, and it's all tied in. And I don't know quite.
Okay, can before we go any further, because there's one little piece I want to jump in and say. First off, we keep saying this planet, but is it? I.e., you said it right at the get-go of this conversation, like a giant holodeck. And it's so funny because my kids are currently watching Star Trek Next Generation for the very first time in their lives. They've got the entire thing of every single season. And of course, the holodeck. And Nick and I have been having a lot of fun kind of reliving the memories of like, oh, I remember this episode the first time I saw it, and the bits of the holodeck and how, and there was an episode they watched just last week where Captain Picard and a couple of others go into the holodeck and there's a takeover of the computer and they can't get out. They can't find the exit. They can't say computer end simulation. And it doesn't stop. It just keeps continuing. And they cannot get out of the holodeck. And I sat there and was just like, oh, fuck, right? Because is that not how, I don't know, how a good portion of us feel at the moment? Like, hello, end fucking program, end simulation. Now, show me the exit. I'm done. So, right off the hop, the first thing we have to do is analyze the words that we're using to describe, i.e., the word planet. Are we actually on a planet? Or because right there, foundationally, changes the entire concept of how we look at things. And if we are not on a floating globe or disc or whatever bloody shape you want to call it, floating through the universe on an elliptical pattern, you know, fluttering around this burning ball of hydrogen, if we are not, then this is not a planet, then the entire discussion about Earth, Mother Earth, etc., becomes moot. And it changes the entire perspective of the conversation. And I think that's where we have to go back to, because this is where you and I had this conversation in August when I was just like, whoa, I got this real, like, wait. There's something so strong about the deifying of the planet, the deifying of Earth, not just as no, how can you, it's becoming a religion. You're absolutely right. And the comments from the Pope, and he made a statement when he was in South America that was so fucking new agey, pagan, fucking dance around a fire, half naked, worshiping the goddess. I mean, seriously, I was like, that word seriously come out of the Pope's mouth? Holy fuck.
Look, but on the Collective Imagination show, we do these meditations, and I've done them for years, and I do connect with something in the planet, right? There is a consciousness there that I can feel, which is why I say that maybe this is just an isolated, because I remember when we first had this Flat Earth discussion, I said it feels like the whole, if the Antarctic thing is in fact a ring around the whole thing, it all feels man-made. Not man-made, but artificially created.
Artificially constructed, yes.
Constructed as a way of just isolating this particular piece.
Yep.
And that, so for that reason, I feel like, yes, this is just a very small little patch on a much larger body. But it's like having a freckle or a mole. It's that small compared to the larger body that we're on. And maybe that consciousness that I feel that I connect to is the greater body. I don't know. But the idea that there is, that the Earth is allowing this or is somehow in on this, I can't escape at this moment.
I'm going to go back to that because I have been all over this for the last few weeks, and this conversation, I'm so glad we're having this conversation because these pieces have played out for me continuously for the last few months, but especially those last 2 weeks. Going back to the hologram, going back to the holodeck, and the analogy I just gave of the one episode of Star Trek Next Generation. What if the consciousness that we connect to, that is that, for lack of a better term, that positive consciousness is the original structure, the original holodeck, the original program, if you will, consciousness that runs that program, but it's been taken over. So it's like that whole thing of like, you know, yeah, end program, we'd like to open the holodeck, let us out, but there's another program playing over top of it, which prevents something from going on. So if you look at it that way, I mean, because that's where I come into the whole thing of like solace, etc., right? Of like the positive consciousness that's there, and you can touch it sometimes. There is, and you do touch it sometimes, and I know what you mean, but you can feel that. I know it, but at the same time, so not all the time. And then there's those times when it's kind of like all you get is the busy signal. Well, it's true, isn't it? Like sometimes you do that. You try to get, and it's like literally you get like the dial tone, like there's no connection. You've got a deadline. Sorry.
For those who don't know what insurgent is, there might be one or two. It's the second film in the Divergent series. So number 1 is Divergent. You need to watch that first if you haven't seen it, and then watch Insurgent.
Oh, another one that's a really good movie. Jeff got me to watch this. It was really good. The Maze Runner.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's the exact same thing again, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen The Maze Runner, it's relatively new. The concept is there a second one? I didn't even know there was a second one. Ah, okay. We'll have to find that. The concept is basically these young men, for the most part, are basically mind wiped. Their minds are wiped. They have complete amnesia. They don't know who they are, where they're from, and they're dropped into the center of a maze. And the center of the maze is like a big open field with forests and trees. And every month a new person gets dropped in, and they have to run their lives. And these massive walls surround them. And outside the walls is a huge maze of massive tall walls that is continuously changing. So the maze runners, the fastest runners, are basically mapping out the maze and all its various changes that it does, and creating a giant map trying to escape. You should see it, because again, it's the same thing. That whole, your mind wiped, you're dropped into an experiment and trying to find your way out.
The changing of the maze is all the distractions.
All the distractions, all the bad guys that come in, all the robotic type things that come in. And then, I'm not going to tell you the end of the movie, but the end of the first movie is the beginning of the next distraction, isn't it? Right? There's a lot of movies coming out right now that are really, really strongly pointing to that. There seems to be a theme.
So tell me, in the Star Trek episode, what eventually ended the simulation?
They basically managed to take, I can't remember really, I was running in and out doing stuff. They did something to break into the computer and basically take it back over and get the original program back online.
You know, I go back to early discussions with Michael Monk and conversations that I had and experiences that I was having, which made me really relate to what Michael was saying. And I was reminded of it last night through a series of events. About what we're doing at this moment is kind of grounding, bringing in the greater part of us into these physical bodies. And I think once that reaches critical mass, and it may well have happened in December of 2012. And what we're doing right now is we're just sort of in the process of really kind of grounding all of that. We're going to reach critical mass and it'll just collapse. I mean, I've actually talked about it last week, I think, on the Collective Imagination show with Barbara. There are times when I'm out in the matrix, out in the world, when I'm away from nature, lots of people, all that stuff. And my vision changes to, it's like wearing 3D glasses. Blues and reds suddenly get highlighted and everything gets a little bit weird. And I know that these discussions have been going on in the Unfuckers room about the physical changes everybody's feeling. And
I definitely want to get into that.
I don't know if I've told you this yet. I think it was on a collective show about hearing, about the way things are coming in and
yep.
Did I tell you about that?
Yep.
This is new. This has only been going on for the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks. But it's like all the sounds that are around me suddenly merge. So instead of hearing voices, the birds, the music in the background, and it's all separate, it all starts to coalesce and become one frequency. And then it goes, woof, woo, woo in my ears.
Yep.
And I was like, and I can't differentiate what's what, because it's like white noise. It's just this woo, woo, and I can't make out any individual sounds. It's bizarre. Yep. And it goes for anything like a couple of seconds to 2 minutes.
No, that actually is me permanently pretty much at the moment now. I can't. Do we want to jump off topic yet? Because we should come back to this, because this deserves a whole, because the conversation in the Unfuckers room has been unbelievably fantastic and very eye-opening, shockingly so, on that topic. But I want to kind of, I don't know if we finished off the first topic.
I don't know. If you've got more to say on what we were talking about, go for it.
No, we'll come back to it. You know, we'll ramble. So, in the Unfuckers room, in the Unfuckers Facebook group, I asked a couple of questions. And we started off with specifically dealing with the senses. So, sight, hearing, scent, touch, smell, taste, etc. And what we are currently experiencing. And I basically laid it out for myself and said, my eyes are failing. My eyes are failing radically quickly now, that I am having very hard times focusing. My hearing is gone from, I have hyper hearing, that I can hear the mosquito on the other side of the room and tell you exactly where it is. But when people speak to me, if there's any other noise, I can't hear them. And someone in the room made the perfect analogy. It's, you can hear them, but there's a disconnect between your ears and your brain that you can't translate the words. And I've always been very noise sensitive. White noise does my head in. And because I've always had a lot of noise in my head anyway, I have a noisy brain. I'm sensitive to sound, and I'm sensitive to repetitive sound. So things like the washing machine going, or the dishwasher or washing machine, that kind of repetitive noise can make me absolutely nuts. In the last year, it's kind of jumped, but then in the last 2 months, it changed again. And now in the last couple of weeks, it's gotten to an extreme where I've now got the kids trained that if they wish to speak to me, they cannot talk to me from another room. If you're in another room and you say something, I have no clue what you've said. You have to come stand in front of me. I said, it's almost like I'm reading lips halfway to understanding what the words are. If there's any background noise, it's what, like you just said, it becomes like a giant ball where you can't discern what is someone speaking versus what is a movie playing in the background versus all these sounds. Okay.
So Dusty in the chat room said exactly the same thing happened to them the other night. The crickets, the breeze, and all other noises just came together, and it was like that. The whoom, whoom. Yeah. And somebody asked if it had a pitch, whether it was high or low pitch, and I can't say it has.
Yep,
it's not like that high pitched ring you get. It's nothing like that. It's just, it's the vibration. It's like the best way I could describe it is like when you're sitting in the front of the car and the windows are down in the back unevenly, and you know how you get that thing going on. Where it's like that.
It's a pressure change. It's like a pressure change.
Except it's even and rhythmic, so it's not uncomfortable in the sense of it going like that.
No,
but it's
No, I know. I know the sound. I usually get it with a high pitch as well, or I will have the pitch first and then get the pressure change. The other one is when it goes from one ear to the other, and I have that happen quite often too, where it's almost as if sound slides. So you're hearing sound from all around you, and then all of a sudden the sound from either one side or the other side will just mute, and it almost like it completely moves through you and all comes out to one side. And I've been having that a lot in the last month or so, like at least once a day it happens. Smell, apparently even the smokers like myself who've been like smoking for far too long, all of a sudden I've got their sense of smells coming back. I smell, I walk around the house and go, what the hell is that smell? Oh my God. What? And it's like, child, go have a bath. You stink. I seriously, it's embarrassing, but it's true. Seriously, all my children, they all smell. Go have a bath. Taste, cannot stand anything artificial. Chemicals, like you'll pop open a bag of Doritos and you take one and you go, because all you can taste is the chemicals. But the same thing with the smell. Anything that's got like artificial fragrance, like, oh my God, walking down the laundry detergent aisle at the grocery store. Oh, just about freaking, I mean, it's always bothered me, but now it's just, yeah. Very
it seems to be that there's a lot of people in the chat room who are experiencing the same thing with their ears, fluttering, like a fluttering feeling as well.
Yep.
Jim just said, I just thought the noise thing was normal. There's a lot going on with people's hearing. Okay.
What was that?
There's stuff going on with a lot of people's hearing. So
I was shocked.
This is the thing that we found in the room, in the Facebook room, was that almost everybody is experiencing something similar. And these are not typical symptoms of anything. This is unusual behavior, and it's all reasonably recent.
Yeah.
And this isn't a little group. All, regardless of age or sex, be going through menopause. I'm sorry.
We're not all going through menopause. I'm sure Jim is not going through menopause, right, Jim? I don't know. And we've got a big group in there. I think we're like over 370 people in the room now. So we're not talking about a very small, tight, like 25, 30, 50 people. No, like we've got a really, and we kind of did a call out, and people are all over the world, from like Sri Lanka to Africa to Europe to Australia to the States to Canada to Hawaii I mean, it's really a really hugely spread group. And yeah, the eyesight stuff, what people are seeing, what they're experiencing, people who, and I keep saying, because someone made a comment, was maybe you're just getting old. I'm like, I know I'm getting old. Fuck off. But it's not just that. I've had 3 friends when my eyes first started changing, which was 2012, was when I first noticed the changing in my vision. I had 3 separate friends, one of them my girlfriend Nicole, all say the same thing. Go, oh my God, thank God it's not just me. I was thinking like, holy shit, what the hell's going on with my eyes? All 3 of them had just had an eye exam by an ophthalmologist and been told they have perfect vision. Perfect vision. And then turned around and walked outside, like you say, where you walk outside and you're walking in the store or the busy street and you're like, this can't be perfect vision. Holy fuck. The eye doctor's on crack. And it's the same thing, right? Like I've had multiple, even in the room, there were multiple people in the room who said, I've had my eyes checked. And the doctor says, my eyes are absolutely fine, but I can't see.
I'm sorry, I'm just reading the chat room. I mean, yeah, everyone's got something going on. And the whoomp whoomp thing, is pretty common by the look of it.
Because the way I said it's the change of pressure. I used to scuba dive, and if anyone's done a lot of diving, if you've been down a little too long, you come up and you can have, for hours afterwards, you can have these weird pressurizations in your ears. That's why I said it's almost like a changing of pressure, because there's a texture to it. It's not just a sound. There's a
yes.
There's a physical change of pressure. You can feel it, and it's not just external, like, oh gee, the wind is shifted and now there's a low pressure system coming in. No, it's like it's right here.
I didn't tell you this. I'm sure I was talking to Barbara about this one. I'm constantly kind of popping my ears.
Yeah.
adjusting the pressure. And it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was driving in the car and I had a friend of mine in the front seat, and he did it, but he had a bit of a head cold. And he just went to pop his ears. And the next thing I know, he's grabbing onto the dashboard. I was like, "Are you all right?" And he went, "No." The world just went sideways. Half an hour later, I'm driving and I did the same thing, and I've never experienced anything like it. I'm used to getting a little bit dizzy or feeling the pressure readjust when I do that. It lasts for maybe a second.
Yeah.
Oh, that was weird. But I'm used to that. This was completely different. I stopped the car in the middle of the road because I couldn't see. I whited out.
I've been there, yeah.
My vision went and everything just went white. My head spun to such a degree that I didn't know where I was for like 2 or 3 seconds.
You have that like
everything just whited out and went sparkly. And it was as if all this pressure came out the front of my head, came out of here.
Yes! Yes!
Yeah.
Yes! I've said
okay. Headphones.
Sorry. I apologize to everyone wearing headphones. I get overly excited. I'm loud and obnoxious anyways. So I have to tell everyone this because this was a running commentary. I started the conversation in the Unfuckers room. It was, I think, Thursday or Friday we started talking about this stuff. And Saturday, I think, we had the first of the big storms come in. We've been having storms for 3 days now. We had the first of the big storms come in, and you start hearing the thunder rumbling off in the distance. Then my kids are all excited. Yeah, we're going to have a storm. They start running around the house collecting candles. Little did we know that the power was going to be out for 12 hours. Oh, yeah. I was sending my last 2 minutes of battery, sending Biggie a message going, well, I got 2 minutes left of battery on my laptop. And if we don't get power back, I won't be doing Transfigures News tomorrow. Just let you know. But we had the storm. Now, storms are weird, right? I mean, storms, a lot of people get affected by that kind of, you have massive high pressure and low pressure. That's why you get thunder and lightning and all the rest of it. I was already feeling a little on the side anyway, sitting outside having a smoke, talking with Nick. And I started to feel, and it was the pressure, and I could feel it. It was right here. It was through my nose. It was, and the in my ears. I was like, but for the first time I had this at the same time as I was feeling the exact same pressure right through here. And I was just like, oh, what the hell? And you do exactly that. We try and equalize the pressure, and I just about fell off my chair. About a half an hour later, the thunder and lightning started up heavy, and it was right overhead. You know, when you get almost a zero count between the lightning and the thunder. And as I was feeling, I was starting to get really, really weird feelings. And you can't even define it. We had a massive crash of lightning right over the head. And at the exact same time, I got hit so bad that I had the wall behind me and the windowsill, and I grabbed the windowsill and grabbed the chair and completely whited out. Like you say, everything just went completely white. I lost all sense of hearing, all sense of balance. And I honestly, I literally, if it wasn't a hard windowsill, I would have left my nail marks in it. I was holding on so tightly because I was going down. There was no question in my mind. And I sat there and was like, once I kind of managed to get my equilibrium back a bit, I said, I have to go lie down right now. 2 minutes later, we had lost all the power, everything. And that lightning strike took out the power. And it literally, it's like I felt it.
And you.
And I was fine. Like 15 minutes later, I was fine. I was back up again. I was, it was a bad day. It was kind of a swooshy day, but it was that intense. Like you said, I thought I was going to the floor. I thought, this is it. This is me with concrete marks on my forehead.
There's a question in the chat room though. So what are we saying here? All these symptoms, which are common everywhere with everyone, how does this explain anything? You're going to get two arguments pretty much. One is that it's going to be external. It's HARP, it's CERN, it's you know, freaking AI, it's whatever, or it's us going through this process of bringing more of us into the body. The body's adjusting, blah 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 blah. We're evolving. We're moving beyond the five senses or expanding those five senses and all of that sort of thing. Personally, I'm inclined to think it's the second, the latter. I think we are moving beyond this simulation. And if this really is just a freaking computer program simulation, we're, how do I put it?
We're breaking down the coding.
It's down the coding.
Programming is falling apart.
The coding.
Yep. Well, we had this conversation as well. And you've got the multi-layer, you've got those who, it's, people take it from the extreme cabal, if you will, earth-based side of it's CERN, it's HARP, it's chemtrails, it's a physical thing being done by people on the planet to fuck everyone up. The other one is that it's Wavebacks. Now, then again, you have...
What did you say? Wavebacks?
Wavebacks. Wavebacks. X. Wave X.
Cool.
But then, of course, you have the two chains of thought on that. Those who say, "Oh, the wave X is coming in; it's a very positive thing." No. It's the other side of that being it's a very negative. It's a contrived artificial energy wave to dominate, etc. And then is the other one of like, no, we are just fucking waking up and breaking through it all.
You know, I know there's others like, Susan Renison and others out there who are talking about space weather and waves and what have you. But I had a look at Simon Atkins the other day on one of his TV shows. And it's like, what the hell's going on there, dude? He looked like some alien character out of Star Trek. 4 months ago, the guy looked like a banker. And now he looks like he's dressed up for Halloween. He's just standing a little bit, a little more and more unstable. And maybe it's the effect of Wave X on him, who knows? But I don't know what to make of him anymore. He's just a little bit odd.
But you know what? Aren't we all?
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, people probably say the same thing about us, but
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm odd, and I'm getting odder by the hour. So
I'm not the only one. Apparently, you noticed it. Yeah, he looks like one of the. It's like the whole shape of his head's even changed. But I know it's just the way he's doing his hair now. But he kind of looks like one of those alien hybrid characters. And he's got this whole comb over thing that's going on, and it's just, he's just completely changed the way he looks. And his voice he's always had this, sort of high-pitched, childlike voice thing, but I don't know, everything about him's changed. And I don't know what to think of any of it anymore. Today, though, here, where I am, it's the 20th of October.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dum, 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 dum. I have to get my "I survived the end of the world yet again" t-shirt. So I'm kind of changing subjects again, I know, but today we're looking at, it's supposed to be the peak of Wave X, we're looking at some major shift in the financial world, supposedly. Now, for those who saw it, there was I don't even know his name. You might remember his name. There was some financial analyst who was interviewed saying that get ready, because on or about October 20, there's going to be a huge shift. It was like 45-minute interview.
It may have been the one that, well, there's been a couple of them who've said it, but.
Well, the one I saw, supposedly an interview, I swear to God, felt like an infomercial. This thing was so scripted on both the interviewer and the analyst.
Yep.
It just, everything about it felt like an infomercial. And I thought, this is interesting. To me, it felt like they were setting this guy up, whoever this analyst is, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, for being the guy to listen to in the future. So I thought, something probably will go down on or about the 20th to give this guy credibility so they can use him later on. Because it wasn't even just that he was being allowed to speak about this or allowed to give people.
No, he was announcing it.
He was announcing it, and in such a scripted way that every smile, every sigh, every pause, every laugh,
was well rehearsed.
No, everything was scripted. It was insane. And it went for about 45 minutes. I couldn't listen to all of it, but because it was just, oh my God. So, but I feel like he's being set up as the guy to listen to. So and to give him some credibility, something probably is going to go down. We've had quite a bit of seemingly separate activity going on from a lot of different sources, including first-hand knowledge of a very well-placed banker with HSBC in Singapore being unavailable lately because he's preparing for the reset. That's one thing. We had for those who followed this, all that ham radio stuff that went on. If you don't know what that's about, Dee can probably tell you in a much more detailed way than I can. That all seems to be prepped for something. We've had, I think I've probably heard from 3 or 4 completely separate sources that things are gearing up in the financial markets for a huge reset. One of them is actually a billionaire who is, and I mean the billionaire who owns property in Dubai, businesses and property all over the world, including Dubai, is liquidating, getting out of all the markets, selling all his properties, doing it, all that stuff. There's, well, you might want to go into the ham radio story because pretty interesting.
It was very interesting, and I went and listened to the recordings. Nick and I went and listened to the recordings. Basically, it was. I haven't been able to confirm it, but anyone personally who heard it. So take that as it is. Basically, you've got the ham radio, the small radio stations, and there were 2 radio stations that fired up last week that haven't been heard of. The one, which is called Collapse, is the call sign of that radio. That specific station has not been heard from since 2001. The other one, which I can't remember the name of it, hasn't been heard from since the 90s. Both within hours fired up, started putting out code. Victor, Tango, Sierra, Sierra, Golf, Echo, okay, military code. We wrote it all down. Nick and I wrote all the messages from all 4 of the ones that were released that I had found the recordings out, wrote it all down. We went through some basic ciphers. You can't, unless you had a supercomputer or you knew which cipher they were using, you weren't going to break it. It was obviously meant specifically for specific people who would know what code to use. That was interesting. In the States, there's a lot of military movement. I've got reports from everywhere, from Connecticut, from New York, from West Coast, from Texas.
Oh, even Drake got in on it. Drake
Oh,
put out his release too. I know I had to mention his name. I know. I'm sorry.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of military movement. People are hearing air traffic, military air traffic, where they don't usually hear it, and hearing a lot of it. Helicopters, a lot of helicopters. Interesting reports. I mean, on Conspicuous News last night, I had to axe down on the amount of stuff that I had, because I mean, we went an hour and 20 minutes as it was. A lot of course, last week on the 15th was the big earthquake preparedness drills were held all over North America. South Africa has just done a huge pile of that kind of drills and put a whole bunch of money into preparedness type stuff. I also heard last week when we talked about the financial stuff, I got an inside scoop from someone that a guy reporting that 3 of the biggest ETF funds run out of the same company, but 3 of the biggest ETF funds in the world shut down last week due to lack of liquidity. And you sit there and go, okay. And I couldn't track it. I couldn't verify it in any way, shape, or form. It was the kind of thing that they'd keep really quiet. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on. I mean, like I said, the little bits that I've talked about, little bits of news out of like the State Bank, Central Bank of Vietnam, and the currency exchange stuff in Oman that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, still there.
We have Jerry in the chat room saying that he's an IT contractor for a major bank that ends in the name Argo. And everything is 100% business as usual, at least from the technical software project stuff that he's exposed to. Mm-hmm. And he's always been asked if anything weird is happening at work, and so he's always on the lookout, but nothing as of yet.
No, and that's one of the things that I keep referring back to too. Is I know a couple of IT guys. Oh, and I asked them, "Have you seen something? Have you anything?" And they're like, "Nope, nothing unusual." Then again, unless if they're talking about a new computer system, which they have been talking about a new computer system for international banking, blah, 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 it would be something that you wouldn't be seen. It wouldn't be seen in advance. Any testing that happened would happen way, way deep, far away, because they wouldn't allow that kind of shit, that kind of information to get out.
It's hard for me to even give a fuck.
No, you know what? That's the worst.
Based on the previous, our earlier conversation so far of it's all a simulation, it's all a hologram, it's all bullshit, it's all a program, it's all a game. And how can I care?
How can I care? Yeah.
I just want to get out. End simulation.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we need. That's what we need on our t-shirts instead of "I do not consent."
Oh, I'm going to make one. I will make one tomorrow, because today's already over. But technically, it's already tomorrow, or will be in a few minutes. It'll be tomorrow in 2 minutes for me. No, I mean, that's just it, right? I had a meltdown. I actually joked just before we went live. I was joking with Biggie saying they should have a disclaimer on the very bottom of the screen running that says, "Beware, attention, Dia's in a really, really foul mood today." Actually, I'm in a much better mood now that we're live. And it was one of those things. And now we talk about the breaking down of the matrix, right? I was on a complete fucking rant today, to the point of I was literally stomping around the house, not yelling, but close, at Google, Yahoo, Bing, all the major search engines, that I was going to do a public letter of notice to all of them saying, "Thank you so much for fucking everything up." Because they fucked everything up. You can't search for anything on a search engine anymore. And I'm not talking about research stuff. I'm looking for bottles for our products, and I can't find the information. And it doesn't matter what search engine you use, you can't find the information. Simple. Manufacturers of glass bottles in Spain. Yeah, no, You get manufacturers of, I don't know, dog leashes in Germany. I swear to God, it is. But then let's look at the whole thing about the Matrix fucking falling apart. And I literally today was to the point of pulling my hair out because it was so ridiculous that the search engines, they don't work. Like, they don't work. And you talk about literally, how can I get 5 pages of stuff that has nothing to do with what I'm searching for, other than, oh, so preferably.
You know what, Dee? In terms of the internet, you know, they've moved everybody, even the televisions, everything, right? Everything's moved to digital.
Yep. Yes.
But the analog's all still out there. And I think it would be prudent for us to actually still own an old television and an old AM FM radio, and because they will probably be the networks, the channels, when they can either completely control or the internet goes down altogether, where either the real information is, or that we will continue to be able to communicate with, because this whole internet thing, I don't know, it's not going to stay the way it is, not for us.
Well, it's already falling to pieces, and we're already seeing it, right? I mean, the control factors, external corporate control factors alone, Google and the new analytics that's now, you know, doing their smart, that only the truth will get on the Google search patterns and blah, 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 blah. That kind of shit's already happening. And when you look at the shit that we've had, that Biggie's having in CCN, I mean, the DDoS, the attacks. What, go?
Chat room. Everyone's liking the let's end the simulation, and that maybe we should do that as the focus for the collective imagination show tomorrow. I like that idea.
I like it.
And then someone just said, aha, maybe we just did because they lost the feed. So now Biggie's having a go at me. Stop it.
You know what? Listen, it's fucking done. Seriously, I am going to come up with a good t-shirt. I'm going to whole line of, figure out a couple of good snazzy t-shirts to put together, but in simulation.
In simulation now, I think is yes. I could
Although I think I should do my Stop the Fucking Planet I'm Getting Off t-shirt as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Do you want to take some calls?
Yeah, sure. Call us. Tell us.
Careful. Headphones. Very, very, very close to the ears.
Call us. Tell us what you think.
Okay, it's not a sex line.
Okay. Right. Oh, sorry. Yeah, don't even go there. Yeah, and simulation. I'm fucking done. And that's the overwhelming feeling from everyone. I didn't see what Biggie just said. I just flashed by on the screen and wait, I'm gonna go look.
Can you put the call-in details on the screen, Biggie, for us? Because I have no idea what they are right now. Already doing that.
Doing it right now. Okay, so he's getting up the call-in. Simulation. And I think that honestly is kind of the best word we've used so far to describe what we're in. And I keep coming back to that. Now, the other thing is I want to go back to this whole energetic swooshiness that everyone's experiencing, because I kind of wrote a bit of an article about that last week too. You and I have discussed it here. Our gut feeling we've had for ages about the sun, how the sun, something energetically, et cetera, et cetera. And I talked about basically that when I go back and look at my own past for 20 years of looking at the sun, even as a kid, looking at the solar system and studying everything about that kind of stuff. And my gut feeling, and for all the theories that I think the term I used was all the various theories that I've tried on. over the years. From, you know, the whole ascension shit, ascended masters to ass-ended masters, to
The asshole in me honors the asshole in you, or something like that.
yeah, the nam ass tape, yes. My inner asshole sees your inner asshole and wishes you a good journey. That was Nick's, totally. That was completely Nick's idea for a t-shirt. Actually, it's on his Skype heading right now. It's been up there for a couple of weeks. No, I mean, for all the theories that I personally have tried on, I always keep coming back to that, which is one of the reasons why I watch the sun all the time. Not just literally in the sky, but figuratively watching the graphs, what's going on with the solar stuff, geomagnetics, reading all the stuff about particle physics to do with, you know, like galactic particle waves, et cetera, because that's always been something for 20 years. This isn't, it was well before I ever heard of the new age bullshit or all the rest of this other stuff. That was my gut. And it required that energetic boost to wake up our latent DNA, turn on the other 90% of our brain.
Dee, before it goes, I'm just going to say the call-in number is, yep. I think if you're inside the States, it's 408-638-0968. 408-638-0968. And call 1 for the States if you're outside of the States. And the meeting ID is 582-702-293. 582-702-293. Give us a call. You want to do your best sex line, boys? What's the matter?
Sorry, but that was weird sounds outside. All of a sudden, it sounded like I was sitting next to the seashore for a second. I was like, okay, it's like a kilometer that way. I shouldn't be hearing crashing waves. It was just, I had to listen. Sorry, I'm back.
Yes, you're getting some agreement from the chat room too. It's a theory that won't go away. Go away, says Tracy. Yeah, you and I have been on the same page about this for a while. That the sun is, I don't know, it's a portal out of here, I reckon.
Well, I mean, for me, every time I look at, I mean, it's that I'll try on any theory, go down that rabbit hole and test it out, et cetera, et cetera. And the one thing that has bugged me a lot is, oh, we got a caller. Hi, caller. Hello. Can you hear Lisa, or is it just me?
No, I can't hear them.
Yeah.
Oh,
hello.
Hi.
Hi.
No, it's not Blue. Who is it?
Yeah, it's Candy.
Oh, hey, Candy.
Hey.
How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, well,
we're hanging in there.
We're here.
Oh yeah. Ooh, something I actually wanted to ask you guys about too. We're talking about physical symptoms. Is anybody else like burning up from the inside? Like you have an internal sunburn?
Start right here.
Oh, sorry, she can't see probably. We're raising our hands. Yes.
Yeah, we're raising our hands and dancing. We're going, oh, us. And no, it's not.
It's not a hot flush.
It's not a hot flash.
No,
it's not menopause.
Not an effing hot flash. People keep trying to say that. Because I don't sweat.
No. And it comes from for me, I experience it from my chest. It kind of starts there and then just spreads out to the outer extremities.
Yes.
But it comes from the chest.
It spreads. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's through the heart chakra, the solar plexus chakra, both, or yeah.
I don't know.
And everybody from 20-year-old guys to middle-aged women to elderly are experiencing this. It's not menopause.
I said,
No.
I got a message from someone in my chat room saying, I'm 75 years old. I'm past menopause. Trust me. Yes, I'm having the same thing.
Yeah. And all the other things too, like the pressure in the ears and it's ridiculous.
Well, you know what? There was a period there where I was having it regularly, several times a day. And at one point, it got really intense. And I actually felt like I was burning off something. I don't know what, like a program, or burning off something literally in my DNA almost. Like it was, because I saw a visual that went with it. It was really weird. And
1 minute.
that's what I think is happening. It's like we're burning something off. And it all comes from that heart space, or the higher heart space. That's where it starts. But I haven't bothered to notice or take note of if there's a correlation between that and anything else, like a state of mind or a state of emotion, or like if there's a trigger. I haven't really tried to take note of that. Have you?
I don't know. I do feel like it has something to do with our DNA and the programming. And I've also noticed I felt like compulsively drawn to the sun. Not the earth, not nature, but like the sun, like full on staring into the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's really helped me. Like my mood has blown up and been so improved since I started doing that. Because I was in a really dark place before. The 1st of October, I broke through, and then that's when I started doing the sun gazing hardcore for like an hour every day. So,
well, it's funny you should say that, because the flat that Nick and I are renting at the moment, in the summer, because the sun is directly overhead type thing, we didn't notice it so much. And it's Morocco. It's hot in the summer. Now that the sun is shifting as we're going into autumn, all the windows in our house face north and west, and right west of us is a massive high wall. We get no daylight right now. And I turned to Nick last week. I think it was actually this week. Lavon was actually over visiting us, and I said, we have to move, because we get no sunlight. I'm dead serious. There's no sunlight comes in. My one kitchen, it's right behind me, gets sunlight through the kitchen window for a half an hour. That is it. My little porch, because it's covered, and the way the angle, it gets sunlight in one corner of it now for about half an hour, and I can't take it. Not having sunlight, not having light come, the sunlight even coming into the house, it's making me mental. Literally, I can't take it. I go up and stand on the roof to get, well, it's been like storming for 3 days, but I go stand on the roof just to get some sunlight.
Tracy just put a comment into the chat room saying the sun may be the power source for the game, and it feeds the network and us.
Yeah.
Tracy, I
don't know.
I don't feel that the sun is part of is feeding the program. There's
one of my things I always say is, for me, as I go back to what is the number one thing they have done?
Block us from the sun.
For the last 30 years is block us from the sun. Oh, sun causes skin cancer. You've got to cover yourself with toxic chemicals.
Sunglasses.
You must have sunglasses on. You've got chemtrails overhead. Everything is designed to keep us out of the sun. And that goes into the bunch of articles that I've written talking about the endocrine system, about the pineal gland, about the secondary endocrine system, which is your skin. Nighttime hormone is melatonin. Daytime hormone, vitamin D. What are they doing right now? Oh, trying to ban vitamin D supplements all over the world. So, yeah, that does, for me, just watching their actions tells me that they don't want us in the sun. They don't want us to have anything to do with the sun. Hell, everything is electronic now. Everyone sits indoors on the computer, watching TV, playing video games. Yeah, keep all these kids out of the sun. Don't let them go out in the sun. No.
Yeah, the sun's important. Definitely, I agree.
Yeah.
And I've had some of my most profound insights while sun gazing. Stuff.
Oh,
that's
me
changed
too.
in my life.
Yeah.
So, and I know, like when I'm sun gazing, and where I am right now, I'm kind of in a valley, and I don't see the sun until it's up over the trees. It's too late. It's too hot already, too bright to do sun gazing. I need to be where I can see the horizon. But when I'm doing it regularly, I drink more water, I eat less food, I sleep better. I don't need as much sleep. I generally just all over feel so much better, and I feel more connected to myself, to my own spirit, I guess you could say. And I just get answers when I'm sun gazing. And I miss being able to do
exactly.
it. I really do. But you can feel, there have been times where you could literally feel the information coded in the light. You can feel it hit your skin. It's bizarre. And it's cool. It's really cool.
The same thing. For me, I go back to my earliest gut instincts. I've been a sun worshiper my whole life, i.e. not sun worshiper, but I mean, I'm always in the sun. I've never worn sunscreen, ever. Even as during the 80s and the 90s, when you was at the real push beginning of the whole skin cancer, you must cover up. I've never worn sunglasses. I can't stand sunglasses. It's like the sun, I'm sorry. It's one of those things for me. And I know I get literally, we've had, like I said, 3 days of storms continuously where we have barely seen the sun. And I was in the kitchen upstairs and the sun broke out of the clouds and I was immediately run to the balcony, go, oh, the sun, for the whole 30 seconds.
Someone's asked the question about the moon though too. And the moon, even scientifically, is the complete opposite. They say that the light that comes from the moon is refracted sunlight. You know, it's the sun hitting the moon and that's what we can see. It's lighting it up. But we know that that's not true. We actually know that that's not true. The sun's qualities, you know, if you leave something out in the moonlight will actually do the opposite. It'll petrify things. The moon is projecting its own light, its own energy. It has its own frequency, and it does the opposite to sunlight.
No connection to the moon. Hell, even when I was a hardcore pagan Wiccan, I was like, yeah, this whole moon thing really doesn't work for me. Sorry.
Yep. I'm sorry, I'm looking at catching up on the chat room.
Well, it was lovely to talk to you ladies. I don't want to hog you up and let someone else call in, but
well, thank you for calling in, Candy. That was awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Candy.
Yeah, nice
I love
you
your
guys.
voice.
Yeah, it was great to hear you guys too. Keep it up. You guys are awesome. I love you. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye, darling. I agree with the moon thing too.
I've never had any connection to the whole moon thing. I mean, you know, the full moon over the water, yeah, it's real pretty. You can get some nice photos, etc. But connected? No. And we'll go into the gories. The whole thing about, you know, women's cycles being tied to the moon. Yeah, mine has never been tied to the moon, ever. And I mean, I haven't used artificial birth control hormone.
Oh, is that me or Dee that's frozen? Didi, come back.
Am I there?
You are now.
Okay. So what was the last thing you heard me say? Because I don't know.
Cycle not connected to the moon, and you haven't had any hormonal or contraceptive or
In 15 years. So it's not like, because I mean, that's the excuse, of course, is that most women's cycles don't line up with the moon now because they're on artificial birth control, hormonal, where it's all scheduled out. No, and I've never, ever in my life found my cycles controlled by the moon at all. No, the whole moon thing doesn't do it for me.
You know what I realized? Just totally off topic, kind of. A comment in the chat room triggered it. The sun symbolism that's everywhere. It's throughout, all the logos, Cabal logos. And therefore, in the conspiracy theorist worlds, by some, it's connected to the solar sun, our solar sun, and therefore sun worship is a bad thing. I don't think the sun in their symbolism represents the sun, our solar sun. I think it is another symbol, just like the cube for Saturn. It's got nothing to do with the sun. That if you go way back, if you go far enough, it is actually Saturn that it symbolizes. So all that rhetoric, all that talk about the sun's a bad thing because the Cabal worship it, I think is bullshit. And both the sun symbolism and the cube refer to Saturn. That's my take.
I'm not going to argue with you.
I came to that conclusion, but I could find it for you. That's my take on it. And it's just another twist to turn us away from the sun.
For me, like I said, a lot of my gut instincts, I just keep going back to nowadays, especially in the last few months, where I'm going back to where I kind of started off and where my original instincts.
To where the journey began.
Well, yeah, in some ways, isn't it? Or at least those things that you felt, even like you say, like as a child. How many people actually have that feeling of like, why the fuck am I here? Even when they were little children. There's certain gut instinct things that are the beginning of our journey. And it's before you've been polluted with all these other things and all these other theories, etc. For me, I just keep going back to that. And it's the same thing with looking at things like, for me, I also look at the proof, i.e. for me, the proof, because I go to the literal, of what are they trying to stop us from doing? What are they trying to stop us from doing? So the sun being one of them. The calcification of the pineal gland through fluoride, through Prozac, through drugs, through an entire continuous host of things, to the making melatonin unavailable. In England, you now need a fucking prescription to get melatonin. Hello, your brain makes it. Seriously? And it's all over Europe. Like, there's a lot of places where it's going that way. Vitamin D. Now you can only get vitamin D in these smaller units. You can't get the mega doses of vitamin D like you used to be able to get. When I look at stuff and I see them stopping and directly interfering in those things, to me, that is one of the biggest leading edges of where I go to look at stuff like that and go, if they're doing this, there's a reason why they're doing this. And it's not to our benefit, it's for their benefit.
See, we're at this, God, these guys, conversations always keep coming back around, but if this is a simulation, which is certainly the way it feels for me right now, and they have, it's like any other computer game. It's like Age of Empires, and you can play the version where it's all snow, and you can play the version where it's it's islands, and you can play the version where it's there's no water, and you can. you know, we've had the Roman Empire game, and we've had the Atlantis game, and we've had, you know, the Industrial Revolution game, and it's just
the World War Z game, and
we are at and we go back to the Star Trek thing, you know, somehow the simulation got hacked, and they've just been able to reset it and play new scenarios, play new games. We're at this time where they're trying very much to do it again, press the reset button, and I think we are the virus in it. We are a virus to the virus, and we've come in the back door somehow.
Okay, well, think of it this way.
We're all getting control back of the simulation.
Make it so, number one.
Make it so.
Well, going back to what you talked about, connecting with that consciousness, right? We're the virus in that we're breaking through the programming and connecting with that consciousness. And as it breaks apart, we're breaking out and connecting anyways. And they keep trying to cut the connection. I mean, that's why I say where sometimes it's like you go in to try and make that connection and all you get is the dial tone. And then, you know, 2-3 days later, something, you know, you kind of reconnect again. It's all like well, here you go. Neural pathways. This is scientifically proven. It works with nerves. It works with neural pathways and that as well. The body, if you cut a nerve in the arm, the body will create a new way to get around that. It'll connect other nerves and send the signals. Instead of going through this nerve that has now been cut off for whatever reason, it'll figure out the other pathway to get the signal to this hand. It may take a day, it may take a week, it may take a year or 10 years, depending. We've seen people do it. We've seen people do it with major spinal injuries who've ended up who were told they were going to be quadriplegics for the rest of their life, who mind over matter made the connections and got up and fucking walked again. It left doctors going, it's not physically possible. Yeah, it is physically possible because they guided their own connections within their body and said, okay, reconnect, find a new pathway, find a new way to make it so. So if you look at it on that level, what we're doing, I think now is maybe we can look at the analogy and say, we're just doing it a lot faster now. Where the connection was cut maybe 10 years ago, they could cut a connection and maybe it took us 6 months or a year to remake that connection through another pathway. Now it's happening in a day, maybe in an hour.
Tracy, can you just put in, I missed it, what in the chat room, what Snow Crash is? It's a book by Neil Stevenson. Have you ever heard of it, Dee?
No. But if it's a novel, I haven't sat down and read a novel in like 4 years. One of these days, I'm just going to like lock myself in my room for a week and read fiction. That's it. I'm just going to read fiction for like a week.
So much in Snow Crash that we are seeing now, right down to the media mogul, religious leader using the Nam Shub, I don't know what that is, word sounds, to control everyone. Okay, there's a Wikipedia link to the book called Snow Crash. And I'm being asked what I thought of Sense8. I loved it.
I loved it, and then I discovered that like the next season doesn't start until June of 2016, and I was crushed.
Oh, okay, now I'm crushed. I didn't know that.
Yeah. As soon as I saw the last episode of season 1, I immediately went on Facebook. I was like, somebody tell me when season 2 starts. Hoping, it's September. It was September at the time. Hey, that's when all the new seasons start. Is September, isn't it? Yeah, no, June. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it was amazing, and there's more clues in that as well. And Mr.
There's
Robot,
a lot of those around there. There's a lot. That's what I'm saying. Movies, TV shows, and it's interesting that a lot of those TV shows are coming out on things like Netflix, HBO, not Fox, not NBC or no. It's the kind of There's a lot of interesting stuff coming out.
And yeah, the Wachowski brothers yet again.
Yeah.
Well, they're not the brothers anymore. Siblings.
Oh,
that's the
what?
Caitlyn Brenner. Oh my God. Got
Who?
the Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner.
Oh! It's a satire. It was a farce. It's not actually real.
Oh, thank God.
I know, because I did the same thing. Caitlyn Jenner wins the Nobel Prize for Courage. I was like, you have got to be fucking kidding me. But no, apparently I believe it is a satire. That's what I said too. Seriously? Because, well, look, Obama gets the Peace Prize and Caitlyn Jenner gets the prize for fucking courage.
Well, yeah, if you want to put those two in the same basket, that works.
Yeah, there you go. Nobel Prizes worth nothing. Diddly fucking squat. Use it as a paperweight or a doorstop. That's about all it's good for.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, no, I saw that one, but like I said, Hillary Clinton, I Am a Robot. That was one of my favorites. That was my favorite news story of all last week.
I could call her a lot of things, and I reckon robot would be actually further down the list. There's a lot of things I could call that one. That's the thing before I called her a robot.
Yeah. But what was really, really funny is because it was the reactions through social media from people going, oh, well, obviously she's being sarcastic. Obviously she was making a joke. To a lot of people going, huh, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Next story. Literally, it was like, yeah, she's a robot. Yeah, okay, whatever. I thought she was a clone, but okay, robot, clone, whatever.
It all works.
She's not human. Let's just stick it there. She's not human.
Okay, so just to recap, Jeff Gates has got the best must-see TV and must-see movies list ever. Mr. Robot, if you haven't seen that.
Yep.
Sense8, the Divergent series.
Yep. Maze Runner, Truman Show,
Dark Mirror, Dark Matter.
I've got that and I haven't seen it yet.
Dark Matter or Dark Mirror?
Dark Matter.
Well, Jeff's saying Dark Mirror and Susan's saying Dark Matter. So one of them.
Jeff, send me the entire list and we'll actually publish it as the must watches. And maybe we should actually compile one in the Unfuckers room, and then I'll compile a list and I'll publish it. So we say to people, if you want some interesting stuff to watch, here you go.
Yeah, so if you know of anything that you feel's got clues in it.
Fringe. Yeah, definitely Fringe. Well worth rewatching. But you know what? Here's the thing. Even watching Next Generation over again, I don't even know how many freaking years later it was since was out the first time, 15 years, 17 years, whatever.
It's more than that.
I don't know. I have no idea. Watching it over again now, because like I said, my kids watch like an episode every day or 2 episodes every day because they've got them all now. Some of the shit that's said in that is pretty fucking illuminating. Like there's almost every episode.
Even way back to the original Star Trek series.
Well, Gene Roddenberry is someone who was very, very connected. He was someone who was very connected to a lot of different things. And there is a lot of speculation that, kind of like with Robert Heinlein, he wasn't from around here, perhaps. And in Next Generation, his wife, the actress who played Deanna Troy's mother, Roxana Troy, who plays Deanna Troy, the ship counselor, her mother, that is Gene Roddenberry's wife.
Ah.
And she played a role in making sure that that was all put out according to the way it was supposed to be put out.
And another one, Heroes. I never watched the original series Heroes, but they're bringing it back. Heroes.
Apparently they're bringing it back. Hey, they're bringing X-Files back too.
Oh, I know. I'm so excited. Oh, God, I love Dana.
So
I'm a Fox Mulder and Dana Scully fan. Big time.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I watched every episode. Every episode. Yeah, there's some interesting shit coming up. But like I said, even some of these older shows, you go back and like my kids are watching them, and there was in the first season on Star Trek Next Generation when they're in contact with some alien being who just appears on the ship, and he's just observing them. And he says, "You don't understand that you guys are creators. You're creative beings. We came to see the beginnings of what you will become." And I was just like, oh, really? Okay, well, that's kind of interesting. You know, the very first season of Star Trek Next Generation. So that was probably 20 years ago or something.
Okay, well, this begs the question. We're creators, and yet so many of us feel like we're in the wrong game.
Like we've been, trapped in a fucking holodeck that's with a corrupted hard drive.
So how much of the greater part of us is in on the game? I can't get past this. I can't get past certain feelings.
The experiment is over. And that's all I keep coming back to is the experiment is fucking over. And we know it. And we, in the greater we, this other, what, inner self, higher self, other self, whatever you want to fucking call it, knows that it's over too. And I think that it's a matter of, and hell, hey, maybe even us breaking out of the matrix is part of the experiment. I don't know. But it's over. I mean, that's the overwhelming feeling. And that's the overwhelming feeling I've had even more so for the last 2 weeks. It has been a continuous, it's not like Danny's having another tantrum. Here she goes, demanding to get off the planet. No, once a month or once every 3 months. No, it's now almost daily where I have those moments of like, this is fucking ridiculous.
The words that came to me last night, which made me really kind of was it's actually all done. And of course I have a reaction to those words now.
Really come out of your mouth just now.
Yeah, I know it did. So as soon as that came, it was like, oh fuck. But I had to feel into what I was really getting, and not in that it is all done, just sit on your ass and do nothing message, but it is all done on the whatever virus we've put into the system is in there. It's that part of it is done, and it is working its way through the system.
Yep.
That it is, in a way, it is just a moment of time. A matter of time, but we still need to do and follow the intuitive triggers that we get to be where we need to be, to do the things that we need to do, to say the things that we're prompted to say. We do have that issue of time. which I think is completely exclusive
Run
to
out.
this simulation, though, too.
Oh yeah.
And
I think that's the crossovers. I think that's why we're seeing the timeline crossovers. I think, like you said, they've created a loop where we just keep running this same loop over and over again, and that's where we're getting all this bleed through now of previous or simultaneous, if you will, because time is irrelevant and not linear, bleed through. And it comes back to, and like I said, the whole Berenstain Bears, Berenstain Bears, that meme won't go away. Every single week, there's someone else brings up a new one. There's another new one. There's someone's, they're having a conversation and they say, blah, 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 blah. And the other one says, no, that's not what it was. And it comes out again. And there's another. It's all over the place. Even to the point of, like I said, now looking at history that we thought we knew. There's a lot of big questions now. And is that the same thing? Like you said, the cycle, they've just been running the same cycle over and over and over again.
Well, I mean, if we stop thinking of them as timelines and just think of them as programs, simulations to be played out. And you can imagine all these little programmers in the background trying to catch up. If they're all kind of bleeding together, if there's a virus in the program that's making all of these other simulations just sort of, melding them all together. There's something about that sort of feels close to true. And the people who, funnily enough, don't take this personally if you're a computer programmer in the chat room or listening, but the people that have been in our environment over the last couple of years who are actually programmers are programmers on a number of levels. They are, if you know what I mean. They come into an environment, into a group, and their job is to program. They just also happen to be computer programmers. Maybe that's a coincidence, but I don't think so. Oh, wow, I've lost my train of thought.
Okay. I want to backtrack because you just said, but let's not look at it as timelines.
No, I'm sorry, but that was weird.
It was just wiped out.
I just love
when those happen. So I'm going to say this before I forget what the hell I was just going to say. If we don't look at it as timelines, don't look at it as, how do I say this? Separate. But if we ourselves have been through, let's say, multiple cycles, and it goes right back to the story of the big sleep that you always talk about, right? Where they go to sleep and they wake up and everything is different. If that's what it is, and we're going through the big sleep, and it's kind of like, say, the Maze Runner and all of it, where you're wiped and you got put into the next simulation, but it's still us, and it goes to the next one and the next one. The breaking down of the matrix, in my opinion, would be us breaking through the mind wiping and remembering the pieces of the previous ones that we've been through and going, wait, that doesn't, wait, no, I remember that differently. No, that's not how it happened. It happened like this, because it's internal. Fuck the English language.
It's like, back in the Matrix film, where the simulation, the Matrix is playing 1990 whatever, but they think it's 25 whatever year.
1990, yeah, exactly.
how do we know? How do we know that we haven't played out the last 100 years over and over and over and over and over again?
How do we know that we haven't played out the last 40 years, 30 years, 20 years over and over and over again?
I keep coming to this.
You keep coming to the 100 years, but
no, but also the Fibonacci. It's like these. We've talked
get
about
shorter.
These things are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. There's cycles, there's resets, whatever. Until
maybe as each time they reset, they can only go back so far, and it gets, like you say, shorter and shorter. So maybe the last reset was like 1 year.
And that's what the whole Mayan calendar was measuring too.
Well, this is my thing about the Mayan calendar, because it's really funny you should bring that up, because I was on that again. A few days ago, I was going through that in my head because I was reading something about calendars. We have only what we are told is the date, like you said. We have only what we were told when the Julian changed to the Gregorian calendar. We have only what we're told of what the date was when it changed, And I remember actually having an argument with someone in 2012 about the Mayan calendar. And they were basically trying to say, well, the Mayan calendar is wrong because, the date Gregorian is this, and this. And I'm like, wait a second, dude, the Mayan calendar is 1,000, 2,000, however many thousand years old. Gregorian's only been around for like this. Yeah. So if there's something that's a calendar that's wrong, it's probably the Gregorian, not the Mayan, right? How do we know that it is the year how do we know that it's 2015? This was the big one that hit me yesterday when I was having my lay down moment. How do we know that it's not 2012? I'm just saying. How do we know?
Based on what? I mean, what's the measure anyway?
But I'm using that as an example, i.e., the end of the Mayan calendar. That I'm using that like the Mayan December 21st, 2012. How do we know that this year isn't actually 2012? By the Mayan calendar. Now, put in perspective of what we've gone through in the last couple of months.
It's been more active than 2012 was.
Exactly. Put that into perspective, because that was where my thought was. I was laying down and I had that was my thought of, in 2012, the year, it was okay. Like, there was a lot of waking up processes. A lot of people woke up. There was a lot of different shit that happened. But on an energetic, if you want to call it, whatever level, that was nothing compared to what we've been through in the last 2 months. Like, nothing.
Yeah, but it doesn't. But again, that goes back to the time delay thing. It could have all gone down in 2012. We're just starting to see and feel the ramifications of it going through now.
But like I said, we don't know what year it is by the Mayan calendar. And again, I'm only using that as a reference point because it's a topic that we're all familiar with. If you want to talk about a linear time reference, we don't know what time it is. We don't know what year it is on the Mayan calendar. Yeah, what time is it, Mr. Wolf? So that was my thing for me, as I was just like looking at how, like I said, I was having a lay down moment because I was getting knocked off my feet. I went and laid down, and I sat there and I started looking at the stuff and looking at reviewing the conversation that we'd been having in the Unfuckers room, and sitting there go, okay, well, what if the Mayan calendar purportedly, to use that analogy, ends this year? I'm just throwing this shit out because we don't know. That's what it comes down to. We don't know what year it is. We don't know what any of this is. So if we want to look at theories, there's a theory.
And the deja vu thing just got mentioned in the chat room too.
I've had a shitload of ridiculous deja vus. I mean, stupid deja vus of like flipping on a light switch.
Yeah, it's the mundane stuff.
Like, stupid mundane stuff, washing dishes and going, wait a second. Saying something to one of the kids like, don't spill your juice, please. Okay, granted, every mother says, don't spill your juice, please, 100 times a day. But I mean, in that moment of like, wait a second. Yeah, all the time. All the time right now.
So we've only got 10 minutes left. And Candy agrees 2012 was nothing compared with this year.
5 minutes left.
5 minutes.
We have 5 minutes. Well, 6. Biggie, come on. Technically, 6. Okay, no, he's right now. It just turned. It's 5 minutes.
Again, more questions than answers. This seems to be the case. But I guess I want to wrap this up by saying that the feeling of it's time. I'm so done, and I so want to know the answers, and I so want to. It's stronger than ever. It's just continuing to build. And I have to. It feels like we're this close to.
It does. Okay, I'm glad you said it and I didn't, because
It
I
does
was.
feel like that.
That's what it's like. Almost like you wake up in the morning and go, "Oh fuck, still here."
Mm.
It does. It does feel that close. And I don't play the date game. I don't play the numbers game. I just refuse. All I know is that in my guts are just like, we're so fucking close. That's just my guts.
I mean, just from a pure 3D matrix simulation level, that can't keep going the way it's going. That is, I mean, even the most asleep are saying that the world can't keep on the path it's on. And it's like they're looking for reasons, justifications, excuses to almost get our consent to playing a new simulation. It's like,
I do not consent.
They may not have needed it before, but they need it now. So there's all these. They've got to get us to buy into reasons for change. But I don't know. The wall's coming down. I mean, you got to go back to, and I do, all of the people. I can't tell you how many people over the last 10 years probably. And we've talked about this too, who have had dreams and visions and intuitions and knowings and whatever of literally a dome, a wall, something coming down in one way or another. We're tearing it down, or it just collapses, or doors open, or whatever. There's a knowing now that seems to be prevalent that this is all an illusion. And I know, I keep saying it, and I know you, Nick, deal with it. The flat earth thing is a key. I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to look at it. That's it. Oh, and if anybody missed it, which I doubt, but if anybody missed it, the woman who was on a flight from Indonesia to Los Angeles, who went into labor give birth prematurely to a baby, they stopped the plane, an emergency stop on the way in Anchorage, Alaska. Now, if anybody can make that work on a globe, by all means, figure it out for me. But there's no way that Anchorage, Alaska is on the way. Not in a globe.
Unless you're flying over the North Pole.
So what?
My whole
Give me one reason why that would be.
And here's my one reason why that is asinine, is because the magnetic North Pole is shifting and moving And planes are staying the fuck away from it because it's doing weird fucking shit to their GPS stuff. So why would you deliberately put traffic over the North Pole? It makes no sense.
And we'll leave it at that. But tell Nick he's just going to have to suck it up and look at it.
Hey, listen, you know what? I don't buy the flat earth shit either. So, like I said, I don't think either of them are right. My God, neither one of them are right. Oh, it's a key. It is absolutely a key. But neither one of them are right. And we just got the 1 minute warning bell. Ding, 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 ding. Biggie's like, you got 1 minute. I'm cutting you off. It was an awesome conversation. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Guys, thank you, chat room. I wish I could actually watch the chat room while we're on the show, but I can't support both live feeds at the same time.
Yeah, I
agree. And everyone in them fuckers room, you guys rock. That room, fuck, what an awesome group of people in that room.
Yes. And Dee and I have a couple of little ideas up our sleeve, which we will announce once we get a bit more organized. Talk to you guys soon. Talk to you all next week. Thank you for joining us. Candy, thank you for calling in. And I'll see you tomorrow on the Collective Imagination. And simulation, I think, will be the theme.
Yeah, I think so. I think you should definitely go with that.
I do too. All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye for now.
The pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world should be the focus of every person on our planet. The reason it is not is because people are kept distracted by the illusions and deceit propagated by the corporately controlled mainstream media. In recent years, the rise in truly informed, savvy researchers and journalists who have all taken to the air in various capacities has given rise to a new genre of media. We have seen the explosion of truly free and independent media, and thus the need to create an ethical live broadcast network that facilitated these brave and tireless souls became apparent. With a great amount of research and meticulous planning, Conscious Consumer Network was created. CCN is a first-of-its-kind broadcast network that is specifically dedicated to free and independent media with absolutely no government control, corporate sponsorship, or advertising. The live broadcast network runs full-time with an average of 25 shows and live broadcasts a week. The high-definition live stream is free to view and is accessible from any computer terminal with online access, including laptops, tablets, smartphones, and smart TVs. All shows are archived onto YouTube and are freely available to view in order to educate and inform as many as we can without imposing monetary limitations. CCN was successfully launched on the 1st of January 2015 and has gone from strength to strength as we have improved and increased the capacities and functionalities of the network, as well as an ever-rotating and improving lineup of content which is broadcast daily. CCN is blessed to be the home of some of the hardest-hitting, most cutting-edge, truly educational and informative materials. Catch interviews, reviews, and talk shows from the many different and beautiful perspectives from CCN's family of interviewers and broadcasters. Since the 1st of January 2015, we have produced over 800 shows. We have over 2 million YouTube minutes watched every month, and we have an average of 1 million hits a day on CCN's website. CCN is viewed in over 147 different countries and hosts broadcasters from 5 different continents. The time has now come to generate funding to keep CCN on the air for the duration of 2016. The total sum needed to continue broadcasting for 2016 is $60,000. This budget includes the replacement of computer equipment, the acquisition of secure servers, which are most needed as we keep getting hacked, plus the renewal of the broadcast license fee for 2016. This is a fraction of the annual budget used by mainstream media networks producing a similar quantity of content. This is what makes CCN so successful, unique, and accessible, is the ability to run a project of this size and reach on such minimal resources. CCN does not claim ownership over any of the material we produce and broadcast, as we firmly believe that information is the common heritage of all beings, and thus CCN belongs to you, the public, and it is up to you all to keep CCN going. CCN would like to thank those who have contributed to the network in the past with resources, content, information, time, and energy. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.